Jake Harriman, thanks for joining us, man.
I'm humbled, brother. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking that the last time you and I saw each other was at Leif Babin's wedding.
Yes.
That's where I met you.
That is correct.
Last saw you.
It was a good time,
I believe. Yeah, Leif Babin's wedding. So were you out at that time?
I was out. I was living in Africa
at
that time, and I came home for Leif's wedding.
Right on. Awesome. All right. Well, let's just get some background on you, where you're born and raised, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I grew up little farm, mountaintop in West Virginia, a place called the Wetzel Settlement.
Wetzel. So give me some history on that one.
Just all farmers, bro.
Uh-huh.
There was it's a very small community. Obviously, no zip code, no post office. It was fantastic, though. About 40 families living up on a mountain in the middle of nowhere.
And so were your parents farmers?
So we farmed to live.
Mm-hmm.
We grew up in technical poverty. I never say we were poor. I didn't feel like we were poor. We lived off the land, grew all of our own food, hunted for meat. And my mother always told us, "Hey, look, there's always somebody worse off situation than we are, and our job is to help those folks."
Mm-hmm.
So we did a lot around the community, kind of bringing folks food, chopping wood for them, make sure they had enough food wood in the winter. We try to do a lot in the community like that, and it was a really tight-knit community. People helped each other. We had folks who helped us as well. And I grew up in this kind of really tight tribe of folks up on this little mountain in West Virginia who, by American definitions, were all in poverty. But like I said, poverty is kind of a mindset. It's a condition of the mind. And I think we really worked hard to help one another so that we could have those choices and help our kids grow up. Or I was one of those kids to grow up and kind of achieve our dreams. And so that was really a grounding upbringing for me.
So did your parents have jobs outside of farming?
Yeah. So my dad drove a school bus for the county. He also on the side worked at the local feed store.
I apologize to all school bus drivers at this time. I was that kid in the back causing problems. You know what I mean? Sorry, school bus drivers.
That was back in the day when corporal punishment was still okay. You know, my dad had a big paddle that he administered the punishment for the kids like you in the back of the bus. But my dad was awesome. Yeah, he was one of my heroes growing up. He was in the Navy himself.
What did he do in the Navy?
He was a signalman on the Midway during Vietnam. They were in the Gulf of Tonkin. He was in 4 years. Didn't really talk about it a lot, but and he was really my only connection to the military.
And what did your mom do?
My mom was a trained school teacher. She that's what she went to school for. But once I was born, she became full-time mom.
Sure.
I was the oldest of four. And they
brothers or sisters?
So one brother, two sisters.
Sure.
There's
a good 50-50 split.
Yeah, that 2 and 2.
It was great. It was great. Yeah, and we had an amazing childhood. Like, lots of woods, fields to play in, building forts, having a good time. It was a great childhood.
How big was the school that you went to?
So we had one school in the whole county, in Preston County, and there was about 350 people in my class.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was pretty sizable. When I first went into the school system, there were a lot of really tiny schools around the country or around the county, but they consolidated everybody into one big school.
One big high school. Mm-hmm. And what were you into in high school?
Well, when I was growing up, I was a little runt. I was tiny. I got beat up by all the bullies. I was not athletic at the time. I was growing into my body, but I was really fast, so I was able to run away from a lot of those guys. But over time, as I kind of hit adolescence, I really grew. And my dad had been an athlete. He was a 3-sport letterman, kind of growing up. And
did he grow up in the same hood?
He did, yeah.
Check.
Yeah, he grew up in the same hood. My dad was kind of a legend, and so I was trying to fill his shoes. But by the time I hit high school, I had started growing a lot, and I had a coach that kind of took me under his wing, put me in the weight room, and started playing football. Loved it, and that kind of came into my own as an athlete at that time.
Any other sports besides football?
I played basketball a little bit, but football was my main sport.
Any wrestling?
No, I did not wrestle. My best friend wrestled. And he wrestled with me a lot.
Check.
But that
involuntary wrestling.
Yes, basically me beating the crap out of me.
And so you're in this school.
Yeah.
Were you maintaining good behavior? Were you getting good grades? What were you doing?
Yeah. So because I was a runt and I was really not athletic growing up, I kind of dove into books. I was the little nerd, you know, and if you see pictures of me at that time, it's really awkward.
Full nerd status.
Full nerd, little suspenders, little pot belly, glasses, braces,
Wait, you had suspenders?
feathered hair parted in the middle.
Dang.
You've seen Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah. Okay.
It's pretty
Full on,
much,
huh?
that was me. Yeah.
But then when you got in high school, did you grow out of that?
I grew out of it, but I still had a passion for learning. You know, I still got pretty good grades.
Did you have some kind of a plan when you're going through? Were you thinking military?
No, I wasn't at all. In fact, I was pretty good at math and science. Thought I was going to be an engineer. My uncle had been on my mom's side had been an engineer. My goal was to become an engineer. That was kind of the path out of poverty in West Virginia. But my best friend, actually the one that wrestled, had a dream to go to the Naval Academy since he was like 6. I didn't even know what it was. He's talking about it all the time, and we played football together, and he's like, bro, you gotta do this with me. We gotta sign up together. And so we both applied to the Naval Academy, and I got in. He didn't.
Dang.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Ouch.
Yeah. He ended up going to the Coast Guard Academy. Got into that, and when I got in, it's kind of like the dog that caught the bus. Like I had no idea what I was getting into. And they sent the packet of materials, and they're like, yeah, you're going to have to, I found out you got to wear a tie every day, and you got to you're going to be in the service for 6 years. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's for me. And I actually turned it down.
No kidding.
Yeah, I was a real idiot. And
What'd your dad say about that?
At first he was not happy. But my dad has always been a pretty gracious guy with me and my decisions, and he's always
they're super dumb.
He kind of had the mentality of like, I got to learn life. I got to like take my lumps, and he was great. And he and my mom were both supportive about it. And I think my mom secretly just wanted me to be closer to home. So all my buddies were going to WVU, West Virginia University, to party. And so
the goal party.
At the time, WVU was known as like this big party school. And so you know how you are in high school. I'm like, we're going to be buddies for life. And, I'm going to go with them and do the thing. I go to college and instantly realize I've made a really big mistake. I wanted to see the world. Growing up in West Virginia in really technical poverty, we never went anywhere. Never went on vacation. I'd never been outside of the state. One trip, my grandparents took my brother and I to the beach in Ocean City, Maryland, which was huge for me. But that's it. And so I got kind of the adventure bug. I wanted to see the world. And I also had this kind of growing weird pull that I needed to serve. I had this like crazy pull, kind of Call of Duty or whatever you want to call it, but from my dad. And he never said anything. But I remember like we were kids, we'd watch this little black and white TV. And you remember they used to have parades for the 4th of July, right? So we had this little black and white TV, and he'd make us watch these parades. And my dad would like tear up, And when I was a kid, I'd be like, has he got something in his eye? What's going on? Because he was a pretty tough guy. I never seen him cry. And over the years, I began to realize, as I learned more about him, he had really close friends who were Marines in Vietnam that he lost, and my dad understood the cost of freedom. And as I began to grow up, I began to feel like my dad had served, and there were so many things opportunities I was experiencing that I realized I could not experience in other countries, and I really felt like it was time for me to serve. My mom had been someone who served other people her whole life, and so I really felt like I needed to serve. So once I got to WVU, realized I'm a total idiot. I got to try to get back in. And I worked my butt off it took me almost a year and a half to get back in. But I somehow was able to finagle a nomination from Senator Byrd. I just don't take no very well, man. I just like hustled and tried to weasel my way back in.
Did you have to write a letter explaining? I mean, you had to have, write a letter explaining why you made this decision before and why you changed your mind.
Interviews, the whole 9 yards. And to this day, I don't really know why they let me back in, but they did. Yeah. And it actually gave me an edge, man.
Yeah, because you've been in the real world. You kind of understood the opportunity that you had.
Right.
And you're a little older.
A little older than the other
Especially
guys.
those years, going 17, 18, 19, it's possible to gain some level of maturity. It's also possible to not.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I matured in those years. I was still freaking just an idiot.